first Bitcoin ETF could get approved, and soon, coming off of its best day in quite a while.
It's going to transcend any one currency and currency valuation.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is November 9th and Bitcoin is sitting at new yearly highs, but we have rejected 38,000. We are still above yesterday's prices, so it puts us in an interesting spot to analyze the chart. Now, before we get started, I just want to mention that Patreon is still at a discount. Soon, I'm going to launch a public portfolio that is going to be brand new from the ground up so that people that are new to the market can actually follow somebody, create a portfolio from scratch. So if you're interested, click that link below and join Patreon now while this huge discount is still available. Now, Bitcoin is getting some rejection off of 38,000. And of course, you're going to see the crowd come out and spew their really just unhelpful opinions on Twitter about how this is the top, or, you know, don't be scared, it's going to go up again, and just this very, very repetitive nonsense. But before we dive further into Bitcoin's trend, I want to mention that currently right now, Ethereum, if you look at the short term, is running up. On my Twitter, I was saying this the other day, you know, Ethereum is preparing to catch up with Bitcoin. Ethereum is probably going to end up having a breakout while Bitcoin lags, right? Ethereum lagged while Bitcoin broke out, and now it's going to be the opposite. Ethereum runs while Bitcoin lags. It happens every cycle. Don't listen to the Bitcoin maximalists, because this is how it happens. This is how it plays out. And if you look, Ethereum is coming up. And what is Bitcoin doing right now in the short term? It is going down. Look, directly inverse. So we are now seeing the Ethereum breakaway, and this is likely going to lead to an altcoin season. If you look at the total three, this is the total three. This is the market cap of everything excluding Bitcoin and excluding Ethereum. Check this out. This was the last cycle, 2020. When we broke above this high, the altcoins went crazy, right? And now we are right here, right at this point where, yes, we are seeing rejection because Bitcoin is coming down. But ultimately, the altcoin season, the real altcoin season, has not started yet. Everything we've seen up to this point has been a pre-season altcoin run. The altcoin season takes place above this resistance. Once we get above that, this is where the altcoins really shine. So it's pretty crazy to think that a lot of these coins haven't even really started moving. Ethereum, though, is taking the cake right now. So Ethereum is likely going to see a massive run. And we've been talking about on Twitter the target that we have for Ethereum, which is pretty simple. If you just fib from your high to low here on the weekly, it comes in just around 2,500, which is also candle body close zone from 2022. 2,500 is likely going to be the breakout target for Ethereum on this run, guys. So do not be surprised to see Ethereum run up to those levels, and then a following resulting altcoin spring coming next. I think it's important to analyze the behavior of Bitcoin in the past, because it can give you a pretty good idea of how these trends play out. Not exactly what to expect, but how could this play out? One thing to remember is that usually the price goes sideways for longer than you think it will in a lot of cases. Like this year, from March to last month, we just went sideways. And now we're sitting at these higher levels. And the human mind is going to expect the price, like your brain is going to want the price to go up or down, right? Just straight up or straight down. But ultimately how this plays out is you get, you know, higher highs, lower lows, longer consolidations before the next trend appears. And then you get these longer consolidations, larger trend formations, and things take longer than you might think. And so keep that in mind. A lot of times the market is going sideways, not up or down, sideways. And that is what I think is probably likely from this point. This type of stuff is common, right? This is a fractal from the 2017 run right here. And if we just overlay that on the chart, you'll see what I mean. If we were to see something along these lines, Bitcoin ends up, getting rejection, seeing a lot of volatility, breaking the parabola, breaking the trend, and then it just gets bigger and it gets larger. This is all very common, and this is what you should really be expecting from the market if you are, of course, expecting the halving to be a bullish event. So is the future going to look exactly like this? No. But does this happen during every halving, every bull market? Yes. Larger parabolic trends, smaller parabolic trends turning into larger parabolic trends as the trend builds and grows. And what we're getting now is an emotional feedback loop cycle where we have the first group of people that got in the market, right? Like if we go to the weekly chart here and you imagine that essentially what we just had for Bitcoin going into this zone was that this area was the first group of investors to get in the market. So if you bought in here, congratulations, you are group 1. Now what we are getting is group 2. Group 2 is currently getting in the market, and somewhere in this area, we're going to see group 2 finalize their zone. And this is actually a technical term for market psychology, and it's called emotional feedback. Emotional feedback is what creates parabolic trends. So if you have multiple groups getting in at certain prices, ultimately the group as a whole is getting larger and louder, and then you create parabolic trends. And so what we need to be looking for to confirm this as actually taking place is seeing that these parabolic trends, even if it gets larger and wider and people are saying, look, it's over, we're holding previous resistance as new support along the way and getting a larger trend and pushing up and gathering these groups of people. And ultimately, the noise that everyone's making on social media is getting louder and larger. And you're going to see the news cycles talk about it more because the news is going to get higher ratings by talking about the thing that everyone's looking at. And the feedback loop grows and builds, and the trend goes up, breaks down, gets larger, wider. And that's how you see these parabolas form. So group 2 is forming now. We're going to see group 3 come in later at a later time, most likely, unless there's a major failure in the economy or something, but I don't expect that at all. As these groups form, as these groups get bigger, they just become one giant feedback loop, right? And then ultimately you get towards the all-time high, and then that's how things get crazy, right? That's how it happens in every, Bitcoin cycle. And so this is kind of what I'm analyzing now is the formation of group 2 to group 3 and expecting the trends to break down, expecting these parabolas to break down and then get larger, because it's not going to happen in a straight line, right? A lot of people think that the way that a parabola works is that there's just one parabolic trend line, and then that's the trend line, and then it's just going to have to follow that trend line, or if it doesn't do this, the parabola is over. But no, it's just going to get larger and wider and grow and grow and grow. That's how I see this right now. And a lot of people are probably thinking, oh my God, Kevin is so bullish. He's being a moon boy. Well, it's like, what I'm showing on the chart is actually a huge correction of 30%, on all these moves, 40% down. So I'm going to be, I'm expecting that, we probably bounce back, maybe even hit some higher targets, fake out the bears, squeeze them again, move up towards, that falling wedge breakout target that we talked about on Twitter at the beginning of the year, actually. This falling wedge that's targets 52,000, just to mention. We talked about that in January before we even broke out. And so now this is becoming more and more real as time goes on. Though we may not necessarily have to hit that target next. It could just be the FTX collapse zone, the 4236, coming in at 41,500 roughly before the major correction, right? We could sort of just squeeze our way up to that level and then pull back and then go up later, right? I mean, there's so many possibilities. The main point of this was that you should be expecting massive volatility, massive fake outs, huge liquidations on both sides as the trend builds and grows. And it's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be violent and it's going to be crazy. But ultimately, I'm looking for a massive parabolic trend. And I think that this next zone, whether we break down sooner or later, this next dip zone, where group 2 bottoms out before we head up to group 3, that's going to be a really good opportunity to get the positions you want before this really kicks off, right? And so a lot of people always forget that, the trend, every time the trend breaks out, people always think that they missed it, right? That they missed the opportunity and that, they're never going to get the opportunity again. But even like here for Bitcoin, 2017, every time the trend breaks out, it comes back, breaks out. It comes close to the, zone. I mean, ultimately, it comes all the way back. 2021 ultimately comes almost all the way back. And so just be careful with these trends, guys. Like, it usually gets a lot more violent than you think. And even if you think you missed this breakout, I mean, it'll probably come back here before going up. This is usually how it plays out. So if you're looking for really good long entries, I would say wait for that massive correction that nobody expects, that crushes the longs before we go fully parabolic. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys want to see how I'm going to create a portfolio starting soon from scratch, join the Patreon now, huge discount, and I'll see you guys in the next video.